Gabe, you're on.
All right, my name is Gabriel, that's Zach, and that's Philip, and today we're going to present two articles that we read. The first one's called No One Should Have to Work for Free. It's about unpaid internships, why people still take unpaid internships, and some of the surrounding controversy. And the second one is called A Generation of Debt. That one's about student loan debts and how that situation affects all of us. Here's a quick outline of what we're going to talk about. We're going to start off with the internship stuff. We'll talk about what legally defines an internship and why so many of them are unpaid. Then we'll talk about the controversy with the internships and some potential solutions. Then we'll switch gears to the second article, A Generation of Debt. We'll talk about loans, youth unemployment, and then we'll talk about millennials in debt and how this doesn't just affect millennials, but everyone else. And after that, we'll have quiz. So, what defines an internship? There's a lot of things an internship can be and a lot of things that they can't be. They can't just be a regular job. The internship is supposed to be similar to training that would be given in an educational environment. It has to be something of value to them. So it's not just a regular job, it's job training. The internship is for the benefit of the intern. Again, it has to be an educational experience. You have to be learning something. It has to be something you can put on the resume. The intern cannot displace regular employees. So you can't have three secretaries or something and decide that since you can't pay all three of them, you can't replace one of them with an intern so they can pick up the slack. And that kind of ties into the next point, which is the employer derives no immediate advantage from the activities of the intern. So since you're not paying an intern or you're paying them less, you can't have, say, a sales team comprised of interns and have them sell. Let's say they make 100 sales. That's a bunch of revenue that you're getting that you're not paying for at all. So a sales intern they can make sales with close supervision, or they can be taught how to make sales. They can be trained. Again, it's an educational environment, but they can't just be the ones that are making the sales all the time. It's not a regular job. And lastly, the intern has to understand that they're not entitled to wages. So before they start the internship, the employer has to make it very clear to them that the time that they spend at the company is not necessarily something that they can pay. So working for free sounds pretty terrible, so why do people still do it? Well, it's a really competitive job market out there, and it's increasingly difficult to find entry-level employment without a relevant internship or work experience. The employers don't want people who need to be trained. They don't want to spend time and money training people. What they want is someone who can just fit right into the job that they're asking for. And the reason they can do this is that the job market is so competitive that there's people with 5 or 10 years of work experience that are settling for entry-level positions. Also, some students might be disallowed by the university from receiving credit and getting paid for those credits. I don't think UTD does this, thankfully, but some schools do. So if you have an internship, you're either getting paid for it or you're getting college credit, but not both. And lastly, the most important reason why some of these unpaid internships are still prevalent is that a lot of companies see them as free labor. Again, this goes back to the last slide. It pretty much violates every single rule on that list, but companies still do it anyway. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding that. And we talk about that controversy. I'll hand it over to Zach.
Right, so what's the controversy with unpaid internships? The question we have to ask is it fairly legal to employ unpaid interns? Growing numbers are saying, now, simply because few Americans can afford to work for free. A lot of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, credit card debt, student loan debt, bills, whatever issues, financial hardships you might have. Simply having an unpaid internship isn't necessarily something you can do because you're spending a lot of time at this unpaid internship. Meanwhile, you have all this other stuff internship that he's doing for a while. But since he's married, he has to provide for his wife. He's not able to make ends meet again. He's growing frustrated. What can he do? Um, so he starts this Fair Pay campaign. Basically, he's saying that no one should have to work for free to get ahead. And that's what a lot of people, they're kind of echoing what Mike is saying. And this is where you see the lawsuits start coming in. And basically, it's just spreading. They want the lawsuits to kind of spread in public awareness, kind of bring the issues to the forefront, and knock on the door, make it so that people are actually seeing that, hey, there's a lot of people out there not getting paid. It's not fair. Um, these people are struggling to make ends meet. The more people that complain, you're starting to see companies, corporations, take a harder look into their programs and see that they need to comply with the law, because as a company, you don't want to be hit with a lawsuit over an unpaid intern, because that could damage your reputation. It kind of looks bad on your life. It can also hurt you financially as well. So a lot of companies don't want to deal with the lawsuits. Like, for instance, there's a recent one on NBC. They actually had unpaid interns, like a lot of companies do. And what happened was we had one of their unpaid interns sue and have a lawsuit against them, and they ended up winning. So NBC and Universal doesn't do unpaid interns anymore. From now on, their policy is to pay interns. So it actually worked in this scenario, and that's what a lot of people are hoping for in the future. So like Mikey, with his situation, he had a lot of frustration with unpaid internships. There's also the same amount of people frustrated with student loans and not being able to find a job. So if you look at the stat here, it says Americans collectively owe over $1 trillion collectively in student loans, compared to 461 billion 8 years ago. So that number has more than doubled in less than 8 years. So if you're looking 10 years down the road, is that number going to be 2 trillion? It's obvious. You can see that it's just going to keep growing exponentially. So that just means that more people in college are have to pay more student loans, because, as we know, tuition rates for schools are growing as well. $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year to go to school, and that's only right. So these kids are having to take out more loans to pay for their not only education but their bills. So you're seeing a lot of young people being pushed out of the workforce because of fewer experiences and less skills. So you're coming out of college, you didn't really have a job, you're working school full time, you're having maybe your part-time job to pay the bills, pay for your rent. They're comparing you to someone who has job experience, someone who's 30 years old, maybe has a nice resume, has the skills what Gabe's saying. They're looking maybe for that person to kind of fit in the job, whereas you're just coming in with, I'm fresh out of college, I don't have a lot of skill, I didn't really have a lot of job experience. So they're more likely to hire someone like that instead of you. That's why a lot of people aren't applying for jobs out of college. That brings us to this next point here. Nearly 1 million people are idling. So that means you got out of college and you don't have a job, and you're not searching for a job. You're not in school either. So you're basically just kind of in limbo. Nothing's really happening. And that's a huge part of that's 1 million people. So if you can imagine plugging in that many people into the economy, and that might put our economy some. I want to switch over to Bill to talk about a little bit of that.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with, I'm sure everybody knows, or most people know this, but what a millennial is. It's someone from the age of 18 to 34, if you're born between the years of 1981 and 1996, excuse me, which I'm sure most everyone in this classroom is. Millennials are 10% less likely to have people, or to have jobs, than people who are in this age range 10 years ago, which is staggering, to say the least. 25% of people under the age of 20. Anyway, the national average of tuition has increased by 20% since 2008, and 14% the 4 prior years before that. So this is all coming from the fact that 49 states out of 50 has increased tuition costs, and 28 states has increased tuition costs by almost a quarter. So if you consider the fact that including the idlers that Zach mentioned earlier, unemployment increases from 14% to 18%. So it's an even bigger increase there. This all stems from a struggling job market. So the fact that there are less jobs for people that are our age means that we're spending less, we're investing less, and we're more concerned with paying off debts and loans. So that leads to billions of losses in economic impact and almost $6.8 billion lost in Social Security. So, which we're probably not going to see very much of anyway at the rate it's going. 7% of millennials are moving back home with their parents, which is a number that's never been seen before nationally. And the debt that people our age are incurring is hurting entrepreneurship and innovation, which has been a staple of the American economy for as long as anyone can remember. Things like the iPhone and steel companies, I mean, that's always been something that's driven American economy. So in summation, we have the definition of internships that Gabriel went over, which include, no profits for the company, value to the intern. Why people are choosing unpaid internships, which is lack of experience and lack of other offers, things like that. Solutions like the grassroots movement that Zach mentioned. The generation of debt that we are and how it affects everyone, not just the millennials. Okay, so
Will you please read the quiz questions?
the internship is similar to training, which would be given in a blank environment.